Hey everybody, welcome back to my channel. So a couple months ago I did a video where I explained the top 7 beginner creature designer mistakes, and then what it was a very fun roast, light-hearted roast on beginner mistakes that creature designers make when they start drawing. So I'm going to continue that, and I'm going to give another small list of things that beginners can do that will help the designs on your paper look better when it comes to designing creatures. Okay, so the first thing that I notice is what I like to call the hill to nowhere. So let's do a creature, for example, just like a simple big shape. Okay, so what'll happen is, let's say there's like a little tail here. You're starting it off really well. It looks pretty decent. You're kind of happy with the proportions, and maybe you have a strange little head up there. There's some horns coming out, you know, something a little almost ram-like. Okay, and then all of a sudden your legs go straight down, but that's not the problem. The problem is that one leg is longer than the other. Most of the time I see it in the back, and then when you put the feet on it, they look too human, and guess what? The feet and the front are up. So what happens is, if this is the ground plane and you go horizontal, which is running parallel to the end of my sketchbook, there's a slight invisible hill going up. So it's almost like the creature is pressing against an invisible rock. Now, that doesn't suggest that you can't just simply put a rock in there, but the overall layout doesn't make any sense if that happens, because one, there's no weight distribution, so the creature looks like it's not stepping on anything, it just happened to do that. So you want to avoid the hill to nowhere. To couple this problem with another one that I see, it kind of goes twofold. What'll happen is you'll have, let's do another body here real quick. Okay, so let's do a slightly longer one, almost like a lizard. Okay, so let's say you'll have a leg, the back leg, there's the hip, okay, there's the ankle, and let's say you do a pretty decent job, okay? You have the back claws going on there, and all of a sudden the toes just start going everywhere, and then the back one, the toes just go up like this. So it's almost like the direction is going up towards the abdomen. We have this one going down at a 45-degree angle nowhere. Okay, so what this ends up looking like, if you were to do like straight legs down like this, is it kind of looks like the creature just accidentally bit into an electric fence, or they got tased, and you don't want that. Okay, so when you have all of these legs going everywhere, but they're still straight and they're going in the wrong direction, you got this hill to nowhere, you got the toes pointed everywhere, it just looks like something is very, very wrong with their bodily structure. Okay, so you want to avoid that. Okay, problem number 2. So let's just do one up here. By the way, I'm going to be filling all this page with just a bunch of scribbles and these drawings. And then what I'm going to do is I'm just going to flip it, and then I'm just going to draw a creature where I'll teach you how to think of these things and correct any of the mistakes that you may be doing. Okay. So problem number 2 is a continuation. I like to call it whiplash. All right, so let's say your creature has a neck. All right, so maybe, I mean, this neck could be anything. It could be on a kelpie, it could be a dinosaur, some alien, doesn't matter. All of a sudden, at the very end of the neck, the head looks directly at us. Now, I want to give a disclaimer though. In nature, if you look at animals such as big cats and wildebeest and gazelle and anything with a, any kind of National Geographic photographer where they're taking pictures of these animals from afar and they look at the camera, they do look almost corkscrewed like that. However, the problem is not so much the direction of the head, it is the stiffness of the neck and the body going the opposite way. So you have stiff arms just going straight down into earth, and then it looks like there's no transition from the neck muscles into what would be the head. So A way to counter that is to simply not put the eyes directly front like that, but what you could do is you can draw the back of the neck with a slight hump. Okay, so what is that hump, do you think? Well, the hump is showing that if you were to look at the neck from top view, okay, so let's say here's the top view. Okay, it's getting, it's thick over here where the creature's trapezius muscles would be in the back and the spine. So let's say the spine goes down the middle. The tilt or the turn of the neck, okay, would cause the muscles in the back and the spine to bunch up so we can turn the head. And then when the head looks at us, you can slightly turn its eyes a little bit more to the side of the head. So it still looks at us, but we're given the illusion that in between the jaw and where the neck is, so like right here, it looks like the muscles are contracting or restricting, whichever is happening to move the head. And then two, there's actually fat folds and skin and fur having to contort to bend around that. It adds so much more realism. So you can still have it look directly at us. Okay, now like I said before, there are exceptions in nature. So this isn't 100% always the case, but what this does is it allows good realism. Okay, so you want to make sure bodily movements really happen. Okay, all right, so let's go into problem number 3. Let's see if we can get it over here. Okay, so problem number 3 doesn't really have a name. I haven't named it yet, but it's when the body parts get smaller and larger and they start breaking in places where there are no joints. I see this all the time in tails. So let's say that you have a tail. Okay, you're doing some kind of creature tail and it's coming out of the back of the hip. And all of a sudden it does this. It breaks. Now, an easy excuse would be like, well, I wanted it to break like that. The creature that I'm drawing has a joint there. Okay, why does it have a joint there? Make a little call out and give a note with a reason exactly why there should be a broken joint in the tail. Does it have a function that it needs an extra joint there in order to, you know, sting somebody if there's a stinger at the end of the tail? Does it use the tail as a weapon? Like, who knows? You can't just say you meant to do it. That's just an excuse because you didn't do it correctly. All right. Now, the other thing that'll happen that I mentioned, so let's say, you know, you have that problem, okay, coupled with this. So you'll have, let's say that the back of a hip. Okay, so there's the back of the hip and there's the spine going into the abdomen and everything. So let's say the tail comes out, but it's skinny right there. All of a sudden you accidentally get fatter in the tail, and as you try to whip it around, it breaks, and then it gets fatter again. So the tail looks like it got run over by a car. And like, you don't want that to happen. Okay, so the way I would correct that problem is lightly, so let's go down here, lightly put in the line quickly from start to finish, just like a big swoosh. Okay, depending on what kind of tail that your creature has. So maybe the tails that you're designing doesn't have a big swoosh to it. Maybe it's curled like a pug, or maybe the tail is super spiked and it splits into 3 pieces. I don't know. These are your creatures. But the underlying structure needs to be correct so that any details you put on it, like spikes and scales and whatever else you want to put on it, is going to be put on top of something correct. It's like laying the foundation for a building. Okay? When you dig it out of the hole, or when you dig the hole out of the earth and you start pouring concrete for the basement and then you put the pylons in, you want that to be correct so the building doesn't collapse. Same thing with your drawing. Okay, because what will happen is when you guys are designing these things and you know you start to put details on something that doesn't look good, it just brings out what isn't looking good, the more details you put on it. All right, so to go back to the tail, just hold your pencil lightly, or pen, whatever one you want to draw with, and very lightly put in a couple gestural lines, very light at first, just to get the flow of the tail. So when you do this, you quickly eliminate any second guessing. You just put in that tail, and if it's thick with multiple lines here, that's okay. You will get better over time, and you will need less lines to do so. Okay, the next and final one that I want to talk about before I get into a creature drawing is a big one. Okay, so I want everybody to pay attention to this right now, because when it comes to hands and feet, this will make or break your creatures, especially if it is a quadruped or maybe multi-legged, some kind of crazy 6-7-legged beast. But let's keep things simple, okay? Let's say that you're a beginner creature designer and your creature has 4 legs and it resembles maybe a cat or maybe I don't know, like a bear or something. But see, bears are plantigrade, cats are digitigrade. So plantigrades, they plant their entire palm down and their feet on the ground. So maybe we'll do something a little bit more dog-like. The problem that I see a lot is that the front and the back feet have a heel. Okay, so there's a heel in the back, but all of a sudden you draw your front feet and there's still a heel. So what it is, it's like 4 identical feet going, you know, in that direction. And then what happens, sorry, then what happens is there's a proportional change here that's not working. And that is, however thick the entire leg is, the toes are way too long. And they're starting to point upwards, like this. They're pointing upwards, but the ground is going straight across. So it's like, where are they going? If the foot is already planted, and then couple that with having 2 sets of hind limbs, it doesn't make any sense. So let me explain to you what actually happens for something like a cat. Okay, so in animals, typically the front paws, if it has paws or hands, it's built for support and braking. And the front feet typically carry more weight. This is why, you know, they have dew claws there, while the hind paws, they're built more for propulsion. So that's why the thighs are thicker, and animals tend to press off of their hind feet so that it can propel their body forward. And also, the other thing that I want to mention is typically the back legs have less toes or fingers, whichever one you want to call them based on the creature you're designing. It has less than they do in the front. So what happens is in the front, the fingers actually appear a little larger. I mean, if you look at the feet of a bobcat, you'll see that, like the huge paws. It's pretty crazy looking. So the front paws also typically have like what's called a brake pad. Okay, so just to give you a little more of an illustration here. So let's draw very lightly. Okay, we'll put a dog paw in here, okay? All right, so see if I remember how to draw a dog paw. Okay, so we have claw number 1. Okay, and we'll have like a pad here. All right, the pad on the side, okay, those are called the digital pads, because it's a digitigrade. There's one. Okay, there's 2 pads up here. There's a claw, and then there's a metacarpal pad right there. Okay, no, I'm sorry, that's not the metacarpal pad. This down here is the metacarpal pad. There we go. So then we got the paw coming down here, and then you got your little dew claw right there. You got your spur, which is another padding. It's pretty crazy. And then you got your carpal pad back here. And of course, they're kind of cool shapes too. Okay, you got your little claw up here. All right, so you have all these cool little paddings going on. All right, so all of these up here, these top 4, those are your digital pads. We got this one in the middle, that's called the metacarpal pad. And then you got your spur right here, and then you have your carpal pad back here. Now, the back of a dog, so let's say the back feet. It's kind of fun drawing dog pads again, because I haven't done this in a while. And we're just keep this very simple, very loose. Okay, so we'll put the shape in here. These two tend to be pretty close together too. So we'll put the claw, and then it stops there. So there is no spur and no carpal pad back here. There's no dew claw either, because the dew claw is right here, typically in the front. So if you're drawing a creature, let me see if we can line this up. If you're drawing a creature that kind of resembles a dog, or maybe nothing like that at all, maybe you're drawing a dragon, maybe you can kind of follow the same type of finger pattern and direction. You put your dew claw on the front. All right, so we got the metacarpal pad and the back foot, okay, and then these four are called the digital pads. All right, metacarpal, digital pads. There is no spur and no carpal pad. So when you're drawing your creature, okay, let's say that the hand comes down, do not give it a heel, okay? Instead, make it a little bit more interesting. Give it a slight 45-degree angle down here where the tendons, you got all your metatarsals, all of the cool little ligaments, all the little bones, carpal bones inside there going this way. And you want to thicken those up. So let's just put some big claws in there. So this back here in the corner, you want to show some lift. Okay, you don't want to make the hand go flat down unless you're a human doing a push-up, or if it's like a bear or something that's plantigrade, then that's different. Okay, save the more flat foot for the back. So I think this will help. Okay, and then make sure that, guys, draw the ground plane. Just draw it in here first. Seriously. If you want to draw a foot, just draw the ground plane so that you know where all the toes are resting. Okay, because what will happen is you'll just start drawing fingers floating in the air, and it kind of looks like rigor mortis is set in, and it's just like dead feet. So you want to be careful of that. Okay, so comment below if this is helping you. If you want to dive into some more in-depth lessons, I do give lessons because I just started a Patreon. So check the link in the description below if you want to see behind the scenes of my tutorials, if you want to see my client work, and you can also just join for free. So it's fine. Maybe you want to hang out for a while and see some updates. So check out my Patreon below. I'm really excited about that too. I just want to further the education that I give for my YouTube channel. And I want to thank all of you for being here too. Yeah, I mean, this channel wouldn't be anything without you guys. So thank you. Okay, so let's get into some really cool and fun creature designs, and I can show you guys how to check yourself if you come across any of these problems so that you can have a really good snowball effect, and a good one and not a bad one. All right, let's do it. Alrighty, now we have the fun part. So make sure that you sharpen your pencils, make sure that your page is clear, you're sitting up straight. If you're slouching, catch yourself. Okay, take a drink of water, shake your arms out. Let's do it. So the view that I'm going to be doing in this particular portion is more of a front three-quarter view. So the sample that I gave in the beginning of the lesson was straight up side view. I recommend everybody now listening to this, especially if you're a beginner, to start in side view, because you can see more of the overall silhouette of your creatures if you do that. You can see what's working, what isn't, if it's too busy, if it's, the proportions and everything. Once you figure out your creature in side view, then it's a good idea to try to do it in different views because you already know what body parts are where. Okay, so if you try to look at a spiked spine in perspective, you don't know how many spikes are actually on the spine because it's foreshortened. So if you do it in side view, it has 8 or it has 10, and then you know where to put it in the distance. But anyway, here I go, just lightly figuring out what I want in this creature's head. Do you see the lines that I put through the eyes? That is usually my my marker as far as perspective goes, and making sure that symmetry is happening the way I want it to. I can also cut the skull in half vertically across that horizontal line, and then I have a nice little cross or a 90-degree angle. So then I can measure things both ways. All right. You can see how loose I'm being, guys. My palm is mostly not touching the paper, so it's slightly off view to the right. My pinky finger is what's guiding my hand. I get asked a lot, how do I keep my drawing so clean? I don't draw over top of what I'm sketching, or at least I try not to. It's not always going to work, no. To piggyback on that, I've been getting messages coupled recently. It's funny how it all happens in clusters about, hey, how do you keep the pages clean when you shut your sketchbook and over time the page on top of the drawing smudges? Well, in that case, you have one of two options. One, you can spray it with fixative. Two, you could mix in black Prismacolor with the graphite because it's wax-based and it helps keep the graphite down. Guys, listen, your sketches are ultimately going to smudge throughout time, like regardless. Not all the time. Like if you sketch the entire thing in black Prismacolor, then smudging is decreased exponentially. We're talking, you can have a sketchbook that's 10 years old, and if you have a sketch in there that was made by black Prismacolor, maybe a little bit of smudging, and that's it, especially on marker paper. Okay, so you can see here, just jump back up to the picture real quick. You can see that I'm just loosely figuring out the stance. Look at this creature's front left leg. He's bringing it, or it's bringing it, slightly forward. The creature's front right leg is slightly back. Because what I'm trying to do is show a counterbalanced stance. Okay, we all living beings have that anchor leg. Okay, we want to see through our drawing which leg is holding most of the weight up for our body in order to stay balanced and upright. All right, so now I'm just using minimal shading, that's all. Not a lot. By the way, I apologize. I have the light on our left, and I just realized that it was kind of picking up some shine. I think I also had the window open a little bit. It's just a beautiful day out today. It's 75, sunny. We're not going to have too many more of these days. Okay, it's September, or October. Oh my gosh, it's the wrong month. It is August. My mind is everywhere. Anyway, I'm figuring out the hands now, kind of taking into account this is the front. So I'm going to put one extra nail, one extra finger behind those three. I think I added in a little later, but I believe that I keep the back foot at 3. Okay, so you can see that little bend that I gave the hand there, and I'm calling it a hand. So I'm making sure that I'm not putting a heel on it. Now, if I wanted to put in a dew claw, the dew claw will be happening in the front right there. Okay, so I believe, yeah, I only do 3 toes in the back. It was becoming more like I don't know, tapir feet or even rhino feet or hippo feet. But I just went with it, keeping things loose. Just look at the lines going back and forth. They're very suggestive. They're very suggestive on tendons, muscle shapes, ligaments, scrapes, where the location of maybe exoskeletons could be. I don't know. Pay attention to what I'm doing to that tail too. Remember what I was saying earlier about broken tails make it look like it got hit by a car or run over? You want to quickly put the tail in. Now, if your tail design is intricate, then that's one thing, but you should still draw the underbody of it lightly. Also notice that the very back of the head, you can see the neck slightly above it. So the head itself is almost, the creature is almost rearing up or is very curious and just kind of happened to look over at us as we're walking through the jungle. Or maybe it's out on the plains and it's just grazing and kind of hungry, and all of a sudden it looks at us and go, well, I'm an omnivore, I could eat you too. So you don't want that to happen. But the funny thing is about this particular part, those spikes that I was drawing, the 3 on each side, like the cheek, and then back where the ear could be, I was thinking, man, now I really need to draw an ankylosaurus, or an ankylosaurus, however you want to pronounce it. I do promise you all and to myself that I will be drawing more dinosaurs. I want to. I miss it. I miss it so, so very much. The other thing I want to mention, I kind of briefly went over this before, a couple things actually. I just recently started a Patreon. I'm super excited about it. It's been a long time coming. It's an extension of my YouTube channel. So a lot of the stuff that I show or that I work on behind the scenes, I can't really show on YouTube. My YouTube is geared more towards drawing ability and just becoming a better artist in general, with an emphasis on creature design, of course. But I'll get into the nitty gritty of like reference gathering, digital painting, and more in-depth lessons and tutorials through my Patreon. Okay, and you can even join the Patreon for free. So it's not about the money. It's about just broadening your education. All right. I do have a tier 3 that I will be dedicating towards live streams, separate from YouTube. All right, anyway, the other thing I want to mention is early signups are going on for my Creature Design for Film and Games course at CGMA. So we are 3/4 of the way through summer term already. I cannot believe it. And we talk about reference gathering. We talk about head design, muscles, skeletal systems. We talk about functional features. We talk about overall presentation. So early signups are going on now for fall. So check the links in the description below for that also. Isn't this fun, folks? Comment below. Let me know what creature you want to see me draw. I read everything. Okay, I do. And sometimes I can't always answer in depth like I want to, so please don't think that I'm ignoring you. If I give you a heart, just to let you know I read it. But if you ask questions that are maybe a little too long to answer just through the YouTube channel, join our Discord. That's the next thing I'm going to talk about. If you want to join a ton, I mean over 7,000 members of like-minded people doing creature design contests, drawing contests, sketchbooks, showing pics of the inside of their studios, their cats, all kinds of stuff. Art related, of course. Join the Discord because it's a bustling community. I'm not guaranteeing this, but you will most likely instantly form friends. So check that out. We've got a lot of stuff going on. I have a great team of moderators. Those of you moderating, you know who you are. Thank you so much. So just be sure to check the links in the description below for all the information that I was giving. I look forward to seeing you over at my Patreon. I just posted what the schedule is going to be like beginning Monday. Thanks everybody for tuning in. You are amazing. And until next time, peace.